Hello everybody and happy Friday. I am very glad it's the weekend now. It's been a very quick week actually. I've been very busy and very productive, so it's all been good, but I am looking forward to not having to do anything at all this weekend. I don't have any plans or obligations. I've gotten most of my housework done, so I will not feel guilty at all about laying around watching TV and reading books. Though I should probably water my garden. It is getting hot again, unfortunately. So yeah, let's talk about what I'm going to be reading this weekend and kind of through the rest of June. In June, I'm doing this thing that I did pretty successfully in April, which is to not use the library. I mean, I can use the library for other things, just not books, because the point is to focus on the books that I own, my physical TBR shelf, and, you know, try to pare that list down somewhat. So I did really well at this in April, and I wanted to do it again in June. So unfortunately, I'm not going to be as good at staying away from the library. I've already made a couple of exceptions for library books for good reasons, you know, but it does distract a little bit from the point. But my main read right now is The City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty, one of those library books. I thought I was going to read this in May because it is the last book I need to read for the BookTube SFF Awards. I really need to read this by the end of the month when we have the live show and announce the winners and everything. This is one of the debut nominees, in fact, and I was really looking forward to this, but then I put off starting it, and then when I started reading it, I just wasn't interested. It was very slow in the beginning. I am picking up the pace somewhat. I've reached the halfway point, so while I don't think I will finish it over the weekend, I will make a really good dent in it, and who knows, maybe I will finish it. It's definitely speeding up as I get through the middle of it, and I've heard the ending is pretty explosive, so I'm just having difficulties with that book. My other library exception is this big biography, which is Romantic Outlaws by Charlotte Gordon. This is a biography of Mary Wollstonecraft and her daughter Mary Shelley, of course the author of Frankenstein. This is the June pick for Yamini's book club Tales & Co. on Goodreads, which I've been a member of since it started, but I've never actually participated in it. I don't think I've even introduced myself in the group because I'm terrible like that. But anyway, this is the first pick that I've been able to read, like my library has it, so I wanted to jump in and read something with the group, so I'm making an exception for it in June. It seemed like a good thing to do, and I really want to read more nonfiction and biographies, and I'm certainly interested in knowing more about these two women anyway. And then on to books that I own. Juggling a bunch of things here. I have just barely started on Fallen into the Pit by Ellis Peters. Peters' real name was Edith Pargeter, but she wrote a lot of really famous mysteries under her Ellis Peters pseudonym, including the Brother Cadfael mysteries, which I absolutely love. This is the first book in the Inspector George Fels mystery series, which seems to be detective stories set in the 1940s, 1950s in England. I didn't know this series existed until I found this book in a used bookstore about a year ago, and I've read less than a chapter. Actually 2 chapters, 16 pages worth. And I thought the beginning was quite intriguing, but kind of made its way to the bottom of my pile. I would like to return to this and read a bit more and see if I'm really in the mood for it or not. Because, you know, Ellis Peters. Then last night I started Lavandis, or however you pronounce that, by Robert Holdstock, which is the second book published in the Mythago Wood series, or whatever it's called. Not a direct sequel, but a sequel of sorts. I talked about Mythago Wood in a wrap-up a week or 2 ago, I think. So this has different characters, but is set in the same place with the same wood. The main character is a teenage girl, and she seems to have a mysterious connection to the wood that even she's not really aware of what it is. But I am only 20 pages into this one, so I'm not entirely sure. But I would say that the beginning of this and the characters setup and stuff is more interesting to me than the characters from Mythago Wood, so that's a really good sign. The book that I am farthest into and most enjoying at this moment is The People in the Castle by Joan Aiken. This is Selected Strange Stories, so it is a collection of stories kind of collated from all of her collections. I didn't realize it was so ambitious. It's pretty short, but it's apparently like Kelly Link's absolute favorite stories by Joan Aiken or something. I am really enjoying this. Aiken was like a really prolific, really well-known children's book author. I think in the first half of the 20th century or something like that, when she was really, really active. She wrote The Wolves of Willoughby Chase, which I've heard of but never read. I completely missed out on reading her stuff when I was a kid, but what I've been struck by the most while reading these stories is that they feel so much like short stories and books that I read as a kid that were older that I really liked. They are a little bit strange, a little bit too easily concluded sometimes. Almost reminds me of like Nesbit or something? I don't know. But for some reason, this really makes me think of a lot of books that I read when I was a kid. I'm just really enjoying the feeling of it. I will definitely go out and try to find more of Aiken's books and stories after this, because I just really like the style that she writes with and the types of stories. And then the next thing that I'll probably start is my exciting book mail, and that is this, Summerland by Hano Rayanyemi. This comes out at the end of the month, I think. The publisher sent me this. I didn't realize I was going to get it. Yeah, it comes out on the 26th of June. So thank you, Lauren Jackson, senior publicist, who's probably the one who sent it to me. I opened up this package, I wasn't paying attention to what it was, and I was like, oh my god, the yellow! I recognized it immediately from just the color scheme on the back. So I'm very excited about this, especially because I did not think I was going to be getting a copy to review, so I'll be jumping into it as soon as possible. And speaking of like review copies of things, I also got Shelter Stories of the Aftermath by Dave Hutchinson on NetGalley. It's coming out on the 12th, I think, so I'm not sure if I'm going to read it in time and do a review by then, but it's on my list to read in June, and I'm also really looking forward to that one. So that's plenty of reading plans, plus all the other things I have sitting on my TBR shelf. And I'm trying to be a bit random about my reading, but prioritizing what I own over any stray library books that work their way in. So yeah, I think I'm going to leave it there. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. Let me know what you are up to, and I will talk to you again soon. And until then, bye.